Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another video. This is episode 12, I believe. And yeah, for some reason I thought I missed a video last week, but I guess I did do one on the 5th of October. But yeah, so thanks again for following along, and pretty cool that we're sitting at 292 followers. Last week we were sitting at 251, I believe, as per the video. So really cool in terms of how many users we're getting, or followers, sorry. And yeah, as always, hope to provide good content and good research in terms of the setup. And yeah, hope you guys are having a good weekend as well, with Thanksgiving and everything. So we'll get straight into it. Last week we had a Ticker Tuesday winner, which was HOND. I believe it was an SPAC, or an acquisition company, submitted by Sveco or Svea. So thank you for that submission. Pretty cool in terms of how well it played out, and we'll go over that today. And then this week we didn't get a lot of tickers. It's kind of ironic that I'll just say your last name, Singh, posted WTTR. That was in our research. And I'm gonna just go and like these. And so thank you again for the submissions, for what we did. Means a lot. And we'll go over these two. But yeah, WTTR, we've already done that. I'll just go over what the update is in terms of our research. It's looking like a good buy. Actually, I would say more of a weaker buy. We're not too confident in terms of the play, but it is working out so far. And then yeah, I think I also posted something on WTTR. We had some steady progress. What was good about this stock was it was doing really well on bad days too. I think we had one day that it was like down 6% or something. But I was super happy that when the market was pretty bad this week as well, just overall, it was holding up quite good. So that was a good sign. So we'll get straight into stocks. And then also I have a unique request actually. So I don't know if anyone actually knows that we were in crypto as well, and we're still in crypto. And they were just asking us, what are our thoughts on Bitcoin? And so we'll just go over what we did a couple of years ago, how we played it, and what we're looking at right now. And yeah, so just some thoughts. Again, these are just my opinion, based on research built on my code. And it's, again, my opinion. So you guys can do whatever you want with the information. It's just educational research content, it's not financial advice. So yeah. So obviously, amazing chart, HOND. What I liked is, again, just as a bit of background refresh, these green arrows are basically when my strategy is telling that there is a good setup, but not always. It means that if the signal shows up or the setup shows up, that it's an immediate buy. We're looking at other things like just overall, in terms of the company, in terms of institutional movement, in terms of momentum, in terms of volume, so on and so forth. Um, so I think HOND, I believe we reviewed it 29th September, the week of 29th. And then there was a buy at 1818. Yeah, that number seems familiar. And then from there, I think I mentioned that we might have a little bit of a drop to the high or the low. And then again, it depends where you anchor this VWAP. So if we do it over there, it'll change it. And I guess, I keep saying anchored VWAP, but I'm not sure people actually know what that is. Someone did ask me, what is anchored VWAP? And basically what it is, it's volume weighted average price. So, you can have people buying at, for example, $13 or $15. But if there's more people exchanging shares or trading around the $15, the VWAP will shift more towards the 15 because it's weighting more towards the volume versus the actual versus the actual, I guess, price, or yeah, it's more looking at the trading action. And so based on that, you can figure out, um, how do I say this? If if we're getting, a push away from the VWAP, that means there's a lot of volume and a lot of price action at that point, which makes it very favorable. And you could look at the other way as well, where there's too much selling pressure away from the average, right? That's the whole point. And so, uh, with an anchored VWAP, basically VWAP will be reset every trading day because you're just trying to see the average from the beginning of the trading day. But you can, with an anchored VWAP, you could change it to whichever point on the chart. So it could be, an earnings point. It could be a massive volume in terms of like a volume day. So that's arbitrary. You could choose where to move that where to move that VWAP. And so what we usually do is we try to base it off of our strategy, and we're trying to see if it's able to hold and not break past that stop loss point, so, or that swing low. And so, in this case, I think it came really close to it. So this is, again, it's very, it depends just on experience. So this is why I set it up over here, but if you want to look at a bigger look, this one is also true. It never actually broke past that stop loss point of the swing low, or you could even move it all the way here. So there are points where the anchored view up, the price shoots up, but then comes back all the way down and crosses the stop loss point, crosses the swing low. So then we treat these previous signals as, a wash, just not valid anymore. So in this case, we did see a lot of momentum and buyer setup building up, and it hasn't crossed below the swing lows of wherever it's going. I think this one was probably the closest one, and so that's why we moved it. You can move it here or there, wherever. Anyways, that was a side on anchored VWAP. In terms of this stock, yeah, so 1818 did the retrace, came very close to the VWAP if you're looking at it from this point, or even it came, if you're saying that this is the most recent and most valid one, it did go in, and that's what I said in the previous video. Like, we're looking for some retrace back into the VWAP, and then some reaction to see, like, hey, we respect that average weighted average weighted volume price. And if we respect that, then we're gonna shoot up higher, and that's what we saw. And the gain was pretty good. I mean, from there, 1818 all the way to the top was almost a 73% run. And then I think Svea, obviously, she mentioned, or he mentioned, the stock, and way before. And so we actually got a confirmation, I think, over here if we were looking way back. So that would have been an amazing 156% run. But that was HOND from last Ticker Tuesday. The next one was IAU. I didn't actually make a post about this because the gains weren't, like, that great from when we actually posted it. I think, again, first we saw it over here. It was submitted by someone on Ticker Tuesday, which is pretty nice. And then, it's only up 10%. But why I like the stock is obviously gold is becoming super super interesting right now. Everyone is crazy about it, and I mentioned, in the previous videos, this is probably where you would want to be buying it just before it's breaking all these highs. So you can see the high over there. I'll just get my marker here, so you can see the high over there and the high over there, and that's basically what we're trying to see if it can break. And then it did. Over here, did a little bit of a test, and then finally it broke there. So again, these are weekly candles, so we're looking way, way back, right? This is almost close to 2020, 2022, 2023. And I think most people rarely look at the big scale, with trading. And with the big scale, it gets you these really big resistance or support points. And if you break that, you are going to see some crazy move up. And that's what we're seeing, right? And so, but what is interesting is it's obviously strategies picking up many buy points, and there's a lot of volume pushing this up. and a lot of demand. And I believe one of my friends even got an options play, so he's probably doing really well because if we're taking long-term options, which is something we haven't done, options is still I'm not too sure about it, but with our strategy, you take a leap option, long-term leap option, looking at 2026, your volatility in the beginning is gonna make that options go high, go up in revenue really fast. So this is a pretty good play if you're looking long term in terms of a leap option. So I really like what my friend did over there. And in terms of this, it's doing well. Why I'm like a little bit, I guess not too sure, is because just looking long term, you're breaking all time highs over and over and over, and so there's bound to come for a pullback, and that's probably something I would look at or be careful at with that options play. If you're doing well, probably cash out. If you've done really well, because yeah, nothing goes straight up and nothing goes straight down. There's always going to be a straight up for sure, but then you come back, do a bit of consolidation. If the macro or the micro economics changes, then you're going to obviously get the big drawdown, and then again another consolidation period before the next leg up or next leg down. Again, that's where we look at the market. We're not trying to predict anything. We're just using back data, trying to figure out where it would go or where there's actually, yeah, just rephrase, we're not predicting anything. All we're trying to see is, are there buyers coming in, and are they coming in huge volume and huge momentum, and we ride that wave, whether it be institutional or whether it be retail. Institutional moves very differently versus retail. Institutional will have these like uh, that kind of moves, whereas retail will do the straight up move, and then you'd have the pullback, and then you'd have the you know move by institutional like that. Now institutions will probably play both sides, but you usually see this movement when institutional plays come, and we will see that actually pretty clearly in Bitcoin. Early on, Bitcoin was purely I guess hype, or I wouldn't say hype. There was definitely value in it, but there was more retail versus institutional because institution couldn't actually get into Bitcoin. It was very difficult to buy back then. I remember even me personally trying to buy, and everyone would be like, "Oh wow, how are we supposed to get it?" Banks are very against it, and lo and behold, banks were buying it in behind the scenes. So, anyways, so that's IAU, looking really good. I feel like I'm more neutral on this, but definitely a good play if you are playing that. And then this week's Ticker Tuesday, we just got CCX. This one is really new, so I actually have no, oops, I have no strategy or no buy setups, and so I don't know. Like if I'm just saying purely off the chart, what is interesting is these gains are massive, right? 55%, and then you have these massive drops. So I would expect some retrace maybe, before it's shooting up or shooting down. And then again, this is I believe this is a SPAC, which is huge volatility, huge volume, and people made a lot of money during the SPAC mania. People lost a lot of money with the SPAC mania. So if I want to give my opinion on this, my strategy says no, so I'm not gonna even bother trying to tell you guys if I like this or not. So again, it's just trying to stick to the strategy and not go based on emotion or these insane gains that have already happened and then try to jump in now. But definitely something to watch. The other one was BACQ. This one I do have some buy setups happening, but what I found interesting is looking at the chart, you think that these are insane moves, but this is only a 4% move, and that's only a 2% move, I think, because yeah, these are really tiny moves in terms of the chart actually it makes it look big. So based on that, just because of how tiny the moves are, I'm really curious if this will actually, if you're looking at it zoomed out, and if that's only a 4% move or a 5% move, when are the 55 or the 100% moves coming? And so this is why I'm curious about this stock. And the other thing that's interesting is, so my strategy obviously is picking up uh, buyer volume, buyer momentum, and these hidden signals or this hidden movement. So there is a lot of buying happening with with very less move to the up. That shows me that buyers are really trying to push back sellers, and they're not able to get enough, I guess, volume to surpass that, so that you're getting more buyers versus sellers. Um, so yeah, definitely something interesting to look for in terms of this stock. And there is something happening in the background. So yeah, I'm curious how this stock will play in terms of buy setups. If you do want one, there's one at the top of this candle, which was a high of 1119, and at the top of this candle, 1169. Um, so yeah, I'm curious where this stock would go. Again, I think this is just a SPAC, I believe, as well. Not much information. Blank check company. This is more a friggin' meme stock if you want, or maybe there is some information in the background. But to me, these are super risky plays. And again, capital management and portfolio management probably can teach something about that later on. But even though we're getting all these crazy moves, we're managing our risk. So even though the stock is coming down, you know 20-30%, I'm actually not too worried because the risk is already baked into my portfolio allocation. And I'm not actually putting, let's say I have 10k or even 100k, I'm not putting all that or even 50% of that or 30% of that on some of these plays, because yeah, it's just managing risk. I don't want my account to basically get blown up. And we've seen that a lot, right? This last week, a lot of crypto traders, a lot of stock traders lost quite a bit of money, because again, it's over leveraging and no risk management. So yeah, in terms of this, yeah, we'll see how this goes. Definitely something interesting happening. Even though these massive candles, and yeah, you can even see it by these wicks. Massive buyer push, sellers push it back down, and that again was only a 9% move. So very, very small. So something really is odd here, which makes it interesting to me. Anyways, the next one, we'll just go over the public setups. So BWMX, yeah, still holding the stock. Interesting how it's bouncing off of the anchored VWAP. Um, I didn't actually put it in the right spot, but it's still valid. And so yeah, so just still holding the stock and curious to see how it does in the next earnings, which is next week, I believe. So yeah, let's see how the stock does. Neo, it's kind of interesting. Everyone said that we would expect a retrace, and so we are. I was super hoping that it would go up 771, but if you guys remember in the poll that I did, I think if I can scroll back fast enough, yeah. So everyone kind of said 650 to 680, and that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a little bit of retrace. We did get some kind of a bearish news. Um, I'm not sure why, but it was basically a Singaporean government fund, I guess, and they are basically saying Neo is cooking the books, selling to their own company and buying back from their own company, kind of like that. But I'm not too sure how much validity is there to that. Um, in terms of sales and cars and their product lines, definitely some expansion, and in terms of the charts, definitely some expansion and some buyer momentum. As you can see, it's still, I think last week and the week before was the first week out of this entire cycle, or out of all these weeks that we lost buyer momentum. So maybe there'll be a pullback and consolidation before it starts moving for its next leg up. At least that's what I think. The next one was Resolve AI. This one has dropped quite a bit. And again, all these stocks, BWMX, Neo, and Resolve, I actually have stop losses around 10%, 10 to 20% higher from my entry point. So if there's anything that happens, I'd probably get out if those stop losses trigger. But yeah, Resolve AI more than normal in terms of the selling. It did go up quite fast and high quite a lot, right? Because I think this was from where we actually, yeah, 374. That would be 125%. But then there was actually multiple signals. I can't remember exactly where we bought, but it did move up quite fast. And so maybe this retrace is warranted, but I don't like that it is dropping with these massive big red candles. So we'll see how Resolve AI does. Tilray still in it. And we did get this massive push up and then a pullback and then another red candle. So we'll see how they are going to proceed. Again, same concept. We're still holding and 10% from the entry point. And then WTTR, this is the one that we did our initial research post about, and we had a really big green day on one of the weeks. Um, so yeah, that big green day over there, a bit of a pullback, and let's see if it consolidates here before starting its next leg up. But WTTR was something that we liked. We saw it on the 8th of September, the week of 8th September. We got confirmation around 15th September, so that's that 10:14. And then we had a nice push up. This was a little bit scary to see that big red day. I'm not sure why this happened. Maybe that was the week that Trump kind of spoke. So, but yeah, though I'd say the why I'm, even with all the research, why I'm not too confident with this stock is because they have these points where there are these massive green candles, but then it's immediately flushed out by these red candles, and there's no news. There's nothing that actually happens, and they just have these random moves, which makes it very hard to figure out what the heck's going on. In terms of like long term, it is making these waves, but because if you see like really long term, so that's what we're looking at, and you can see these waves happening, um, and then you have this massive move up. So I would expect some volatility to, but then yeah, I'm just not sure. They have to do fundamentally they have to do really well, keep beating their earnings for this stock to actually keep moving. So, um, I would say for me, if I get a 20 to 30% or sorry, more than 50% run, I'd probably get out of this stock because yeah, I'm just not too confident. But I do like the idea of water, or whatever they are in. Where are they in? Yeah, water management and chemical solutions. I mean, you need water for almost everything. And so definitely something uh, long term. But yeah, well, let's see how this stock does. Okay, finally, Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, what I was talking about before. So this is your retail move. Oops, sorry, didn't even draw that well. That's your retail move. That's your retail move. This is your institutional moves. Um, and with the retail move, you usually get an 80 to 78 to 82 to maybe even 86% retrace. And that's what we're seeing over here. These massive retrace points. And with that move, it is possible to predict, and even with the halvening cycle, it's possible to predict where it would go. And so, and then obviously with our strategy, we would have had really good buy points. And that's basically what we did so far, There would be buys in 2019, there would be buys in 2020, obviously, and then there was buys in 2022, 2023. Uh, so I think I got introduced to it maybe around 2019, 2020. I put very little, skyrocketed all the way to 60K, came back down. This is when I first like developed the strategy, 2022, and this is where I did most of my major purchase. And so obviously it has done really well, and this move has happened, you know, as you can see from here to here. That's almost like I think a 400% move, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's a 400% move. So definitely good on my money for that one. Now the question is, what is going to happen here? Previously, with retail, we would get these moves back. With institutional, though, it is hard to figure out what they're going to do because they can actually move the market. And unfortunately, they can also move Bitcoin. You know, it was supposed to be decentralized um, and I guess retail or a fair market. But if you have massive buyers coming in, like BlackRock and MicroStrategy and all these guys coming in, they can definitely control the market and even the banks. You know, I remember clearly over here, JP Morgan, and even whatever his name is, Jamie Dimon or whatever, they were pretty against Bitcoin over here. They had articles coming left, right, center of how Bitcoin is bad, we don't want it, but ironically, they were buying it on their own books, and they've made that play really well. So with this move of the typical institutional move, I would expect, yeah, maybe it would go a little bit higher, but I wouldn't be surprised if it retraces back to its original, its previous high over here, around 61, 64K. So personally, I'm holding Bitcoin. I'm not actually going to be buying anymore. I do see a lot of people buying the dips, and I mean, you can do what you want to do. It is definitely had a little bit of a retrace, so maybe it's a good short-term buying opportunity. We are seeing some little bit of buyer momentum in our strategy, but not close to how much we want over here. Like, you know, as you can see here, multiple buy points on the rise too. But this one, it is sure there was some here, but it's to me it's reducing in terms of the amount of buys. And what's also interesting is a lot of people are coming out with open short positions, and big, huge short positions. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does come down. Am I selling? No. I would actually, I definitely think long term Bitcoin could reach to 250,000 to almost a million a coin. So long term, definitely some good play. But would I be buying over here right now? No. I'd be watching. My perfect buy would be somewhere around here, 62K, if it does the retrace. Um, Basically, I'm looking for those points where there is a lot of seller momentum, seller pressure, and then trying to see if there's buyers stepping in, and that's where I would go. Now, you know, this could, if it does a typical institutional move, this could keep going up all the way to maybe 160K before they finally bring it down to 60K, and then that's probably where I'd buy. Would I want to buy along the way? I don't know. It's that's just not my move, but that's basically what I think will happen in terms of the move, and that's looking like all the way to like 2029 ish, maybe 2026. And in terms of time, I don't know, because think things can move really fast or really slow. I mean, I remember everyone was expecting Bitcoin to reach 100K over here. Cause and they were pretty disappointed when it didn't. But 4 years later, it did. So that's your time gap for in terms of it reaching 100K. So that's my opinion for Bitcoin. Right now, just watch and hold. I'm not buying anymore. What I am looking at actually is XRP, because XRP definitely has a lot of news happening, and we're seeing these massive red candles, which I like, because obviously we did have this huge push up, and we can't just, with this huge push up, not have some kind of pullback, even at least a 50% point. And so I personally am looking for more of a pullback if the market gives it. If not, and we start seeing a little bit of buyer momentum in this region, because it has had a lot of consolidation here. If we do see it, that's probably where I would step in, because yeah, fundamentally it has a lot of potential in terms of them taking over, or helping with the currency system, with Swift and with banking. Definitely a lot of potential. Um, it sucks that I missed this over here because we had definitely clear signals. But yeah, XRP is something that, in the near future, if this drop keeps happening, and then there is some reversal or some buyer momentum or buyer pressure, is something that I would want to get in. Um, and yeah, I have some Ethereum too. Uh, Ethereum's kind of been blah. It's not, hasn't moved that great. Dogecoin as well. Uh, it's been okay. But yeah, XRP is something that I'm definitely looking at for in terms of making some big moves if I do see some potential. And yeah, so that's a little bit of crypto. I don't think I've actually talked a lot about crypto, um, you know, as the Valor Fund, on even on Blossom Social, but we are in crypto. It's just that I made the buys a couple of years ago. Right now, when everyone's going crazy about it, um, it doesn't make sense to me to buy. You're buying when basically there's blood in the streets, and not when everyone is euphoric and super excited about it. That's probably the worst time to buy, at least in my opinion. And the last thing I want to talk about was, yeah, check out our Patreon page. I give a little bit of a write up of what we do. And then there's something called collections, and it's basically just a file. And I'll just show it to you guys so you guys have an understanding of what I'm posting. But it's basically maybe the first couple of posts would be paid, or you'd have to join the membership. And I show, what our research is looking at and what the early setups are. And we're trying to wait for a little bit of a confidence, and trying to see if it's breaking some, heavy supports, sorry, heavy resistances. And so all this is what is paid. And then eventually when it starts doing too well, that's when I start posting, as you can see here. um, and these are the ones that go public. So yeah, so check out our Patreon page. This is where we post stuff early. Obviously there's not much that has been posted lately. I'm trying to be a little bit cautious on the research setups that I'm giving out. Don't want to flood everyone. But WTTR was another one that was recently posted. And WTTR actually I did for free, just for everyone to get an understanding of what is going on. So this was actually free, so you guys could see the actual full collection. Um, but yeah, so check us out on Patreon, and then obviously follow us on YouTube. And thank you again for all the follows on Blossom Social. It means a lot, and hopefully we can make some good buys in this somewhat of a bearish market. I wouldn't call a crash yet. It's a little bit of a pullback, which is I think healthy because it was going quite high for a lot. Um, but yeah, just stay grounded and keep investing. If you find good opportunities, doesn't mean it's always necessarily coming from me, but whoever. Stay invested, and yeah, see you guys. Have a good weekend, and see you guys next week.